Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the Girl Boss Method, hosted by myself, Richie Bra. Now, tonight's session is one of the educational topics that the one of the clients has asked within their check-ins. So we do weekly check-ins, and one of the questions I feel like is quite a popular question, if you like, or popular topic because there's been some stuff about this, over the last few months and over the summer as well, in like the media and online and that sort of thing as well. So the title of this topic is What Are the Implications of Fast Weight Loss? Now, I thought that this would be a really interesting topic to present because quite often when you are on like a fat loss, toning, or weight loss journey, sometimes it's really difficult because your brain can kind of go, oh my God, like, why am I not seeing any changes on the scales? Like, why are things not happening fast enough? Or why has it gone up? Or why is it going down? Or why is it sort of jumping around and not doing what I want it to do? Or why is it not, you could actually be losing weight, but it's not happening as fast as you like, right? So I thought it would be really interesting for us to actually tackle this topic in a different way. We are going to talk about some things that are going on in the media right now, so some stuff that you may have heard of, and I thought it would be really interesting to actually talk about some of the potential risks and implications of fast weight loss. Um, you might think fast is better. In some case, it might well be, and it might work for some people. But I think we really need to understand what fast means as well. So yeah, there'll be a few different areas that we'll cover today, and I do have one of the girls on the call with me tonight. Hopefully, we can ask her some questions, and she doesn't mind jumping in and having a chat with us as well and joining us in on this discussion. Right. So, rapid weight loss or fast weight loss. So, I'm just going to give you a really quick overview here. So, rapid weight loss is basically a significant drop in body weight in a short period of time. Again, popular methods for this might include strict dieting, so very, very strict, rigid eating, or very strict eating, basically, and dieting. So again, what does that look like? It could be food exclusion, it could be set meals, it could be eating clean, it might well be starving yourself as well. It could be fasting, it could be all sorts of things. Again, you've got surgery as one option. Again, with surgery, there are various different things that you can have done that have been around for a very long, long time. But nothing comes without its risks. And then, of course, more recently in the media, we have seen more and more use of medication for weight loss. So, surgery, just sort of off my head, again, it would, some of the sort of ways that they will look at trying to create rapid weight loss would be like gastric sleeve or bypass, some of those things, where I think with one of those, they will actually put a device, a band, a gastric band. So you'll have a device over your stomach that just sort of small, like creates a smaller space. And with that, you won't actually physically be able to eat as much. And then you have like surgery. And the surgery, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but just sort of going off my head and what I've read up about these topics before, the surgery, I guess, is like non-reversible as well in that sense, because I think they actually do staple the stomach, something crazy like that. So obviously you can imagine already they're closing or creating a smaller space for you to actually hold food, right? Or to be able to take food, or you won't be able to take large amounts of food, basically. And so those have had some really positive outcomes for people, I'm sure, in time. But the longer term implications of surgery, again, they might kind of again they might lead you to have a completely different lifestyle as a result of that choice. But I do believe with the bans, you can have them like reversed. Initial weight loss will be quite fast with those. I haven't actually included any slides on that, but initial weight loss will be quite fast. Quite often they'll do sort of, very strict and restrictive forms of dieting. They might give you sort of a very low calorie target to hit. Could be something like 800 calories, 1,000 calories, or even like 1,200 calories. Again, it depends on where the individual is right there and then. And we are going to talk more about the medication here. Okay. So again, when we're thinking about these things and fast weight loss, we don't just look at the tools that we might use or the methods. We also have to look at the consequences. So what might this do to your body as a result? Again, physically, and then also psychologically, what does it do to your mind, right? Especially if we think about food and habits and certain ways that we've eaten lifelong. So again, there can be a real psychological harm there as well. But what we're going to do is actually just explore what might happen if we lose weight rather rapidly. So just bear with me as I change. Okay. So the next one that we're going to talk about, or this one I was toing and froing whether to really include this slide in here, because again, we're going into an area which can be a result of various different things. But let's just say that we go for an extreme case here and we go for someone that perhaps maybe has a higher body weight. There may be a risk of like obesity and things like that. Again, I am not a doctor. So again, this is just sort of information that I was looking at, and I was actually quite shocked to learn this myself. But rapid weight loss can increase the risk of gallstones. Okay. So what this basically means is the body produces more cholesterol during weight loss. And again, this can lead to gallstone formation. And this will come through the form of something called bile. Okay. Bile. And I think if that's not broken down in the right way, or whatever the focus and the function is there, it can lead to these gallstone formations. And yeah, the gallbladder has to be able to sort of empty and remove these wastes and stuff, and they can lead to further complications. So one reason why I was like, really, like, do I really include this or not? But I think, again, on the extreme case, this is something that you would, again, if somebody is a larger person, and they are in that situation where they are like starving themselves and they're not eating properly, they're not having a balanced lifestyle or a balanced diet or anything like that, and perhaps maybe their the food that they can consume is not healthful, and maybe they consume a lot of junk, and they do a lot of like fasting in between, and they kind of like don't really consider any macronutrient composition or anything like that, then maybe we're looking at some of these like very high risk potential outcomes. Ultimately, the solution to that is a balanced, slower weight loss, which is what I'm here talking to you about today. And that's going to help. And yeah, even with that, there are tactics as well with how we can ensure that things are balanced. Okay. So then I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about maybe the weight loss drugs, right? So, for example, we know we've got things like Ozempic, which has been very popular. And it's really interesting because in order to even understand the whole Ozempic scenario, I follow like a doctor online, actually, a weight loss specialist. And he had a post that said that South Park probably did the best, in a really funny way, in a really silly way. They did a really good example or an explanation about the whole Ozempic crisis, or the thing that was going on, because we know that there were like shortages and stuff. So I found that quite funny. And I actually watched the South Park episode and I was like, right, I kind of get what's going on here. Okay. So again, we can think about Monjaro. I hope I'm Monjaro or however you pronounce that one. How those drugs are used, for example, primarily they were used for like type 2 diabetes and stuff, but they are now used as rapid weight loss. And again, some of these, especially Ozempic as well, long term they're still being studied, like the outcomes and the longer term effects of these things. So research takes a while to bring out outcomes. It takes a long time for people to even think of ideas and setting up research protocols, etc., and getting all that. So we might not hear much about it until much later. But yeah, ideally they are affecting receptors and regulating your appetite, your satiety. And then again, yeah, common side effects might include things like the nausea with, when you are trying to have larger meals because it's affecting your appetite. You won't be able to eat as much. There could be some constipation because there could be a change in fiber intake. And maybe, I don't know, but maybe there's an ability or a change in how much fluid you can intake as well. And then you could end up sort of feeling quite fatigued as a result of that reduced calorie intake. So yeah, we were talking about again, cravings. So this is something else that I heard about. I watched a really interesting I watched an Instagram live actually recently about this, and I thought this was quite interesting. I think we've just had maybe a connection issue there. Hello? Okay. So we'll just kind of carry on anyway. But when we're thinking about side effects, there's reduced cravings known as like food noise. People often talk about this when they do have like issues with their relationship with food. So the drugs are ideally going to be dampening those pleasure zones, those reward zones, the centers in your brain that affect your enjoyment of food. And it's so crazy because listening to this, they also said it's the same area of the brain that, is linked to things like the gambling and the alcohol dependency as well. So again, a lot of these drugs are still being tested or studied for long-term safety and efficacy. I don't know about the availability in the UK, but I do know that there can be some barriers to cost as well of these things. And I don't actually know what's legal and what's not in the UK, if I'm honest. These are conversations that again you would have from your GP if it were an issue. But I just think again, it's interesting to talk about this stuff regardless. Okay. So yeah, when we're thinking about slower results for better long-term success, we've talked about the fact that many of us women might feel that faster weight loss means more success. So if you don't see the scales, the number on the scales changing fast, you might think that things are not working. But then we have to think about all the different compositions of our body as well, and what sort of makes up weight itself. And when we're thinking about slower weight loss, we're going to be preserving muscle mass, which is key for our toned, strong physiques. We don't want to lose muscle. Obviously, we want fat loss. But again, yeah, weight is going to fluctuate on sort of through very many different factors. So yeah, water retention, muscle gain, hormonal fluctuations as well. And again, yeah, look, stagnant weight or no weight loss does not mean that you are not losing fat. I think it's really important to focus on body composition, not just the number on the scale. So this is why we do things like body tape measurements and Yeah, this is why we do body tape measurements, and this is why we take things like pictures and stuff, progress pictures, because I feel like there's so much more that we can learn or gauge from that. And also, I think it's also important to have some awareness in terms of, like how you feel in clothes as well. So when we're thinking about the physical effects of rapid weight loss, there can be consequences on muscle, as we said, but also bone as well. Now, women, when we are in like 20s and 30s, there's an element of bone banking occurring. And as we start to get older, so we're thinking more like 40s, 50s, 60s, we are thinking about the effects of being peri or menopausal, and how these can already they have an effect on our ability to maintain lean muscle tissue and also keep strong bones. We have to think about our future selves as women, and osteoporosis and all of those sorts of risks as well. So rapid weight loss, again, you can have loss of bone mineral density, which again, it's almost like looking at a crunchy bar, right? The inside of it, that honeycomb thing, right? That's going to become weaker over time. And it's really important for us to have strong bones, massively important. You want strong muscles so that you're able to sort of withstand forces and have the endurance and have the strength to be able to do your daily activities. But if your muscles are not strong enough to hold you up and you do have falls when you're old, then you're more at risk of breaking bones. And this is where we think about extreme calorie restrictions and stuff do not serve you. How do we prevent this? It's not to say we cannot have weight loss. It's yes, we can, but it's vital. And this is why there is such, a strong notion these days to include strength training as part of our routine. And it's important to prioritize sufficient protein to maintain that muscle mass as well. And other side effects: hair loss due to a nutrient deficiency. So again, if we're thinking about rapid weight loss, there's less calories, there's less energy in the system. All these secondary situations are going to start happening because your body is almost in a survival. It's not going to be, prioritizing helping you stay optimal because you won't have the energy to be optimal. So we're going to start to see things like, nutrient deficiencies, with hair loss and fatigue again, because when you do start reducing your calorie intake massively and rapidly, it can have an impact on your energy levels. There's also some stress as well that can be caused by rapid weight loss, especially if this is not helping your lifestyle. You've still got to go to work. You may have children. You've got other people you need to care for as well at home. You're just not going to have the energy, and it may even leave you in that sort of stressed state, and that's not good for us either, because then we're going to start seeing maybe even other body situations, or where we even predominantly and how we store fat, and also water retention as well. So it's really important that when we're thinking about our overall health outcomes, that we are looking at a gradual approach. That's my sort of best advice. And then we're thinking about the psychological and emotional impact of these things. Weight loss drugs and rapid weight loss can actually change your brain chemistry. So we've already talked about this with some of those drugs, that they can affect the brain's pleasure and reward systems. I have seen, again, when I was listening to one of these podcasts, they were talking about the fact that even post the intervention, there was a change in appetite. That could be a good thing, right? There could be, but again, it's blunting areas of the brain. We don't know what that does long term. We don't know if that has an effect on other, brain chemistry diseases as well. And we're thinking about things like Alzheimer's and such. We don't know what the effects are long term because they've just not been studied enough. So we want to be able to experience pleasure and reward. Why do we want to reduce that? That's my opinion. again, you can have mood related changes and lowered libido. When we, if you have a partner, and again, if it's an important feature as us as humans to have a libido as well, and if it's suddenly lowered massively because of rapid weight loss, because of lower energy and lower calories and all those things, you're going to start putting stress on your relationships as well. So again, lots of things to consider here, with even how your body ends up looking as a result of the fast weight loss. Are you going to be toned and lean? And we want those sustainable changes, right? You might lose loads of weight, but then again find that you're just not holding on to that shape that we really want. Okay. Everything these days is all about strong over skinny, which I absolutely love. I think it's so important that we just own our muscles, and that's why I always encourage, and I do it myself, the strength training, but I always encourage the the use of resistance training to help us as well, and it makes us feel good, strong, and yeah. So again, just a couple of key factors on the weight loss before we move on, but yeah. You've got the issue with the gallstones, the muscle loss, bone density reduction, hair loss, stress, fatigue. Weight loss drugs can suppress the cravings, but they're going to come with additional side effects, right? They're going to change your brain chemistry. They're going to change the pleasure and reward zones in your brain. Do you really want that to happen? Is that a short-term thing, or is that something that occurs long-term as well? Personally, nothing works better than gradual habit changing. Again, when we're thinking about supporting our weight loss journey, we want gradual, sustainable changes. And we want to be able to support our journey with strength training, with protein intake. And then we can add additional things like journaling and mindfulness. And I feel like this is out of my remit, but I feel like there is definitely space for the alternative therapies where people are looking at things like hypnotherapy and stuff to try and help manage and help these changes occur for the long term. Your health comes first. So rapid weight loss might seem appealing, but the risks outweigh the rewards. Slow down, ladies. A slow and steady approach is healthier and more sustainable in the long term. And you want to prioritize your physical and mental health for that long-lasting transformation. And this is why slower weight loss is ideal. Muscle mass retention. Losing it too quickly is going to affect your strength. It's actually going to affect your metabolism and your overall body composition. We want sustainability. It's going to be more sustainable long term. These are going to be lifelong changes. We're going to develop better, healthier eating habits and have consistent progress. And we're also going to minimize any negative effects of rapid weight loss. So all the fatigue, the nutrition deficiencies, the hormonal imbalances, and other health issues like we discussed as well. And again, this is not all just related to drugs. This is literally, again, if people are massively reducing those calories. So I wanted to talk about this, that how much is actually safe when we're thinking about a calorie deficit. So for you ladies, we are looking at typically around 300 to 500 calories per day. If we were to say 500 calories per day and we times that by a week times 7, we're looking at about a pound of weight loss per week. Okay. So again, this is a moderate deficit, and this is supporting your weight loss without causing extreme hunger, fatigue, nutrient deficiencies. So the three, again, I've got a little breakdown here that I've actually just said. But yes, 500 calorie daily deficit is about a pound of weight loss a week, or a 300 calorie deficit per day is slower progress, but it's safer. Again, maybe this might fit your lifestyle. Again, if you're quite busy, you're on your feet lots, and you prefer to kind of like you've just got a very active lifestyle. Maybe your work requires you to have a lot of brain function as well. You need to be really alert and with it and feel energized in order to still get through without feeling absolutely hankered. So, factors to consider. So, yes, we consider our activity level. So, more active you are, the maybe this is where you can tolerate slightly larger deficits, but again, it's important to or essential to prioritize the maintaining of muscle mass through strength training. So this is where we're looking at things like our step targets as well, and our NEAT, which is our non-exercise activity thermogenesis, just trying to be active individuals regardless. And then everyone's metabolism is different. Okay, it's going to be different to us as individuals, and it's going to be different as we age as well. So it's essential that we are applying or adjusting the deficit based on how our bodies respond. But the biggest thing that we need to do here before we make adjustments is actually be consistent. So if you're not consistently tracking and we don't have the data, then we just got to let go of the drama, right? So data over the drama. Get the figures in place, get the stats in place, understand what's going on. What can't be measured cannot be managed. So it's really important that we have the information in order to know what we need to tweak and adjust and change. When we get deeper into this, and again, certainly this sort of comes into maybe even like people who are smaller bodied that are looking for that last bit of fat loss, for example. Maybe they've already attained quite a lot of muscle mass, so we're thinking maybe even more like bodybuilding athletes, that type of thing. The management of the deficit actually changes a lot more frequently, and the output as well. And this where we start using additional tools like extra cardio and stuff, and you've probably seen that when you're following other competitors alike online. But ladies, we are just trying to live our best lives out here. We're trying to socialize, we're trying to work, we've got careers. We want to manage our health and fitness in a way which is sustainable. And then, yes, when we're thinking about the nutrient intake, we want to ensure that we're consuming enough protein so that we are helping protect muscle mass and maintain energy levels. So general guidelines, we want to aim for about 1.6. Sometimes I might push that down to about 1.4. It depends where your baseline is right now. We don't want to rapidly increase the protein, but we want to start working up those figures. So anywhere between 1.6, top end 2.2. We don't really need to worry too much about that. Just aim for that sort of 1.6. Again, I've set these targets for you individually, ladies, and this is going to help support our muscle retention during that weight loss. We want to combine resistance training with the moderate calorie deficit to maximize fat loss and minimize muscle loss. And we want to run home, or I want to run home, that avoiding extreme scenarios, extreme calorie deficits. We don't want these huge 750 to 1,000 calorie reduction, because they can lead to more severe health consequences, as we've kind of discussed. So we've got roughly about 5 minutes left. I feel like I've spent most of the time talking, but I am going to ask Paris, who's been with us on this call today, if she's got any questions.
Not any that I can think of.
Okay. What about anything to
What about, so say if you was doing, like, say if someone was to do in like Mounjaro or something
yeah.
at the same time as like doing this with you, would obviously they they have that plan, but then they're still dropping the weight faster, aren't they? So would that still be worse? Not worse necessarily, but like would that still be like bad?
I would firstly say that there would need to be full transparency, and I would need to have a conversation with the individual's GP to
Yeah.
understand why it's been adopted and if it's the last resort. So again, from what I've understood, what I've like when I was listening to one of these these specialists, doctor specialists that do research and stuff, and they're talking about weight loss, and they prescribe these drugs as a living. They literally prescribe them to help people. That's their plan. I've never come across anyone that has done those things, but again, personally, looking at some of the effects on the brain chemistry, I think that's probably what concerns me the most. And the potential for, we don't know what it's going to do to cognitive function in future and in later life. So I would say that adhering to a calorie deficit and changing a lifestyle, when the body weight and the weight comes off and the body fat and we're building muscle, there's going to be a greater enhancement in your physique as a result. But also it means that you can still enjoy things like refeeds or things like maintenance weeks, which we've talked about before. So periods of time where we can actually increase your calories to help with your metabolism. And they also help mentally because they can help you feel as though you've kind of almost had like a bit of time off from being in a deficit, which I feel like is really important. What you don't want to do is be on drugs that affect your brain chemistry long term, that actually stop you from ever really truly enjoying food. Like, food is a part of life and there is an element of enjoyment with food. You don't want to be at a position where you are having and consuming and you're not actually enjoying it because it's making you feel sick. Like, you'd want to be able to enjoy a dinner and then like a cupcake, or a dinner and a dessert, without feeling that long term something has cut off. There's something that's changed. I don't know. I think that's like my personal position, but I'm not in that position, and I know that there are people out there with serious obesity levels where, again, they will be helped by weight management. These might be people that are so severely obese that it helps them actually do daily functions and lose more weight to be able to do things like get up from wherever they are and actually take themselves to one end of the house to the other. And we're thinking about very extreme scenarios where people's like quality of life is massively affected by them having more like size and more mass. Again, I'm going off on a tangent, but I think that's probably where it's like life-saving for those people. But I think for those of us that just, we work, we can exercise, we can function, we've got all like, good, we've got the ability to kind of like exercise. I don't think it's worth it personally. I hope that answers your question, Paris.
Yeah.
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 How do you feel about hearing about some of this stuff?
I definitely have found out more than I did know. Like, I didn't realize how much it could actually affect you as a whole.
Mm,
So yeah,
yeah.
very informative.
Yeah, very interesting. But I think it was a really good topic because, especially with it's become like the thing this year that everybody has been talking about. And I take it back to the South Park episode, if you haven't seen that, where people are making Ozempic in their house to sell.
Oh,
It's crazy. If you haven't seen that video, or that episode, it's like, wow. It's actually, as I said, that it does a pretty, for me, when I first was introduced to this stuff, it did a pretty good job of explaining it. Guys, we're gonna have to stop there because we've finished. This is the amount of time that we had for this episode. But if you've just stumbled across this podcast, this has been the Girl Boss Method, and we'll see you here next time.